Segun Duwadadega. I greet you, my brothers and sisters. I am Kateri Tekakwitha of the Mohawk and Algonquin Nation. In 1656, I was born in a village called Orzalona on the south bank of the Mohawk River, what is known today as New York State. My uncle is one of the 9 chiefs of the Mohawk tribe. He married my mother, a gentle Christian Algonquin maiden. When I was 4 years old, a smallpox sickness came over my whole village. It seems as if everyone got sick. I got sick. For days and nights, my aunts took turns in caring for me as I tossed in bed with a high fever. I could not even turn over because of the pain in my head and back. And whenever I could, I called for my mother, but my mother did not come. When the smallpox sickness had finally ended, most families in our village had lost someone. My mother, my father, my baby brother had all died. The pockmarks on my face never went away. My weakened eyesight did not get better. With the death of my parents, I became the daughter to my aunt and uncle, and in my father's place, my uncle was selected to serve as chief. Each evening, right after my new family had finished eating, I fumbled my way across the dark longhouse to fetch my uncle's pipe. No matter how careful I tried to be, I always bumped into someone or something. One evening, I not only bumped into everybody, I bumped into everything. My uncle laughingly said, "Look at how she bumps into things." That's how I got my name, Tekakwitha, she who bumps into things. How we laughed that night. I was 11 years old. We had just moved across the river into our new village when the 3 men of God, called Jesuits, came to visit us. As the chief's daughter, it was my duty to serve our guests food and fresh water every day. I sensed peacefulness about these men. Such respect they showed our Creator when they talked to Him. 3 days later, these 3 men of God were gone. The people in our village that make the sign of the cross, or Catholics, say that the Creator's Son Jesus lived on Mother Earth with men. He taught them to love one another, love even their enemies. Love even our enemies? How my heart longed to know more about the Creator's kind Son. From that time on, I listened to everything there was to be heard about Jesus. As time passed, and in spite of my weak eyesight, my aunt taught me everything I would need to know in order to be a good wife. I could make moccasins, clothes, baskets. In time, I could make peace belts good enough for my uncle the chief to use in his peace talk. When my aunt said I was old enough to get married, to please them, I allowed them to put bright ribbons in my hair, colorful beads around my neck. Tekakwitha, they would say. When you bring your new husband home, he can help support a family. He can hunt with your uncle. You know that is the custom of Mohawk people, that every girl marries and raises a family. One day, my aunt even tried to trick me into marriage. A young brave was invited to our house, and I was told to serve him a bowl of corn soup. As the brave reached for the bowl, suddenly I realized, if he takes this bowl from me, it is a sign that I agreed to marry him. I put the bowl down, quickly left the house. My aunts were very angry with me. I always did what my aunts told me to do, but when they told me to get married, I could not obey, because I felt the Great Spirit was calling me to a different kind of life. The Jesuit fathers lived in our village a few years before I took lessons to become a Christian. I was 20 years old when Father James de Lamberville baptized me on Easter Sunday, April 5th, 1676. He gave me the Christian name Kateri, or Kateri in my tongue. On that day, the great Spirit filled my soul with such joy. I was never happier. After my baptism, my aunt used my Christian faith against me because I still could not get married. I was not allowed to eat on Sundays or holy days because I no longer would work on those days. On those days, I fasted for Jesus. On the way to church, children began to throw stones or pebbles to taunt me. Sometimes men would laugh and jeer as I walked by. I walked a different path to get to church. Then one day a man was hired to enter my house to scare me. As the man walked toward me, he raised his tomahawk as if to kill me. I bowed my head to die for Jesus. That scared the man into running out of the house. My only friend, Father de Lamberville, wanted me to move with Anastasia near Montreal. He felt the people here would really hurt me. The day we left, my adopted sister's husband, his friend, and my uncle, came after us. He said he would kill whoever took me away from the village, but I hid in the woods until my uncle turned back. About 2 moons and 200 miles later, my adopted sister's husband, his friend, and I arrived at the village of the Praying Indians. It hurt me to leave my family and home, but my heart jumped with joy upon seeing my mother's old friend Anastasia again. Anastasia asked me how I lived while she was gone. I told her the same as I did as when she was there. As soon as I could, I went to church to thank Lawanio for bringing me to this village where people are free to pray whenever they want. About 2 months after I had arrived, Father Chilnak said I could receive my first Holy Communion. How honored I am for this privilege. After that first Christmas, most of us in the village went on a winter hunt. I did not think I could live those long winter months without receiving Jesus in the sacred host, but I went because I thought it was my duty to help. After the noon meal while the others rested, I would walk to the edge of our camp. I carved a cross on one of the trees, and there in the quiet of the woods, I went to talk to Lawanio every day. After we returned to our village, someone told Father I had sinned with a man while at the winter camp. I told Father it was not true. It was not true. My best friend Marie-Theresa and I wanted to start a religious order, like the nuns in Montreal. We were going to build a longhouse on one of the islands close to the village and live there. We were going to dress the same, work, and always pray together. But Father said no. We were too young in the faith, and it was too dangerous for us to live on the island all by ourselves. We listened to all the stories about saints. We decided to dedicate our life to prayer and penance like they did. Before we went to confession, Marie-Theresa and I would whip each other with a stick and offer the pain up to Jesus on the cross. We wore belts studded with nails as we worked in the fields. We fasted twice a week. When Father found out what we were doing, he ordered us to stop. From then on, he allowed us only the penances he felt we could safely endure. On Our Lady's Feast of the Annunciation, I pronounced my vows of perpetual virginity. With Father's permission, I did some penances before going to 8 o'clock Mass. 15 minutes after Mass had started, I presented myself to our Blessed Mother. I asked her to present me to her son. Right after receiving the sacred host, I promised Jesus he would be my only spouse for as long as I lived. It is Christmas. 1677. It is Wednesday of Holy Week, April 17th, 1680. I have been sick with a high fever. I could no longer do penance. Father tells me to prepare to die as he gives me the last rites. Father said, my penances and high fever have been too much for me. Oh, how happy I am to be going home to Jesus. I bid my friends goodbye. I tell them I will love you in heaven. I will pray for you. I will help you. After whispering the holy names, Jesus, Mary, my spirit passed from this world. I lived on Mother Earth 24 winters. 7 days after my death, I returned in a vision to Anastasia with this message. I showed her a brilliant cross and said, look at this beautiful cross. This cross has been the source of all my happiness here on earth. I advise you to make it yours.